Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be making this really easy drawstring bag. I think this is so cute, and it's a little bit of a step up from the typical basic drawstring bag. It's fully lined, and it just makes this really cute little ruffle on the top. And I love that it's two-toned, and this is the perfect size for what I made this for, but you could make it any size you want using the method I'm going to show you. And you can make it as big or as little, whatever you want, but I made this specifically to hold face mask in my car. Inevitably, every time my daughter comes to town or something, we go somewhere and she forgets to get her mask out of her car, or I go to the store and I forget that I've already brought my mask in to clean and I forget to take one with me. So I just wanted a bag to have a few masks in my car so that I have them if I have somebody in my car with me, they've got a clean mask. So super cute, really easy, and this is a great pattern overall just to know how to do because it can come in, like I said, gift wrapping. It can come, you can make a backpack out of it. I have a video on that. I can link that in the description below the video. You can use this for so many things, just, you know, kids' toys, travel bags, all kinds of things. We're always needing a drawstring bag, and this one's really, really cute. So without further ado, let's get started. This is super easy. If you're a beginner sewist, don't let this scare you. There's no hardware, just some straight seams. Very, very easy. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need are 4 pieces of fabric. You want those cut into a rectangle, and you want to make them about an inch bigger than you want your finished bag in both the horizontal and vertical direction. I've cut mine to 9 by 10, so I have 2 pieces of 9 by 10 in this pattern and 2 pieces of 9 by 10 in this pattern. And then you need 2 pieces of string. That's going to be your drawstring. And what I did was just fold it in half and make sure that it would go across the width of my bag, plus about 4 or 5 inches just to be on the safe side. You can measure that as you go. It's going to depend on how big you make your bag. And then of course you're going to need your regular sewing notions. So the first thing we're going to do is stack up all of our fabric nice and neat right on top of each other. Make sure that all of your rectangles are cut to the exact same size for the best results. This is a drawstring bag. Doesn't have to be an exact science, but it does work best if you have them all to be the same size. So again, mine are roughly 9 by 10. So now you have a decision to make. I like to make my bag longer than it is wide. So I'm putting the 9-inch on the top and the 10-inch on the up and down. So you want to, on the up and down side, the height, you want to cut it in half. Now you can cut this right in half. You can cut it so that it's more like that. You can cut it just so the bottom's going to be different. That's totally up to you. I am going to go, let's see, we're 10 inches, so 5 is going to be right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be about there. If I wanted to do that, or I could go up a little bit higher and make it a little bit different. I think I'm going to go with the 5-inch. Totally up to you. Just cut everything at once, just like that. So now we have 2 pieces like this, 2 pieces like this. So you should have something that looks like that. What I like to do at this point is mix and match. So what we're going to do is go like this and like this. So this is going to be my outer fabric, this is going to be my lining fabric, or vice versa, however you want. So the first thing you're going to do is take one of this pattern, let's just get that out of the way, one of this one, and stack them right on top of each other. And then we're going to repeat that. So we got one of that one and this one. So those are going to be my linings. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to take one of these, stack it on top of this one, and repeat. One of these, stack it on top of this one. So now you have 4 sets that are opposites. So now what you want to do is take it over to your sewing machine and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. across here, across here, across here, and across here. That's going to create your outer pieces and your lining pieces. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here. Okay, so I just chain stitched mine, so I'm just going to cut those apart. That just makes it faster. I just put one in right after the other. Make sure that you are back stitching at the beginning and the end of all your seams. The next thing you want to do is have your iron prepared and iron each of those seams. Oops. Just give it a good press just the way it is. Once you have each of them pressed, you're going to open it up, and I like to put the darker side on the top and then just pull it open so that that seam folds over like this. So you're actually, if you look at the back, you're pressing this seam towards the darker side. If you don't have a darker side, just pick a side. So that one's going towards the darker side. Looks good. We're going to repeat that to all 4 pieces. So now we have 4 panels, 2 like this and 2 like this. The next step we're going to do is just put a top stitch into our fabrics just to make everything look a little bit neater. So we're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and you're going to stitch on the side that you push that seam up to. I'm going to stitch right along here, and that's going to hold that seam down. I'm going to do that on both of these. Are going to be my lining, and on this side I'm going to stitch on the side that I pressed that seam to, right down here, and we're going to stitch that down. So again, I have just chain stitched these, so I'm going to cut those apart. So these are my lining, these are my outers. Next thing we're going to do is take our outer fabrics and put them right sides together, and you want to match the seams on the side and give that a clip or a pin, whatever you want. And on our outer fabric, we are going to take our ruler, and let me get a smaller ruler. We're going to take our ruler and we're going to measure down from the top 1 inch. And we're just going to make a mark on both sides. Then we're going to measure down 2 inches. So here's the top of my fabric. I'm measuring down 2 inches or 1 inch from that mark. However you want to measure it, and make another mark. All right, so now we're going to take this one over to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch from here to here. And then we're not going to stitch in between those 2 lines, and we're going to stitch all the way down, all the way across, all the way back up. Keep going, don't stitch between here, and stitch off. Make sure that you back stitch at beginning and the end of each of your openings, but you're going to stitch this one all the way around. On our lining pieces, we're going to do something a little bit different. Again, we're going to put them right side to right side, match up these seams. Match it up. And then you can finish clipping all the way around. But when we sew this one together, we want to leave a little opening in the bottom, and that is going to be where we turn it right side out. So you can leave it wherever you want. You can even leave it on the side. It's a little less obvious. So let's put a mark over here, and I'm going to skip about 2 inches and put another mark. So on this one, we're going to sew all the way down, keep going, all the way across, up to your mark, backstitch, stop, don't sew between the marks, and sew up, backstitching at the beginning and the end. So just to repeat, on our lining, we're sewing all the way around, leaving an opening on the side. On our outer, we're sewing from here to here, leave an opening, all the way around, leave an opening, and back. Make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and the end. Once you have those sewn, the next thing you want to do is grab your iron, and on the one that is the top that has the two openings on the side, it really helps to open your seams and press those down. I'm just pressing that open. It really only matters on that top section, but it's going to make it look a lot neater when we're finished. All right. Once you have that done, you want to take your scissors and trim your bottom edges. So let's get this oriented right. This is our lining, this is our outer, and these are our corners. So just go ahead and trim those bottom square edges off. Don't cut your stitches, obviously. It's just going to give us a nicer finish. So the next thing we're going to do is turn the outer one right side out. All right, let's give it a press. Okay, once you have that done, we're going to take our ruler and our fabric marker, and again, we're going to measure 1 inch from the top. We're going to make a mark. Measure 2 inches from the top, or 1 inch from that mark, and make another mark. This is your fabric marker. This is an erasable marker. You can use chalk, something that's not permanent. And I'm using a dark pen just because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing, but you might want to use something a little closer to the color of your fabric. You're going to be stitching over this, so the line's not going to show anyway, but this erases with an iron, so we don't have to worry about it anyway. All right, so once you have both of those marked, what I want you to do next is you're going to take your lining fabric, you're going to open it up, and you're going to place the outer fabric that we just turned right side out inside that one. Just like so. All right, now you're going to line up your side seams. Clip those into place. And you might want to open up your lining seams, or you can push the lining to the one side. Since we opened up the inside, it's not going to be overly bulky, but I just open them both up. Hook that together. Oops. And then work your way around. Make sure everything's lining up nicely. And add a few more clips. Just like that. So now what you're going to do is take it over to your sewing machine. You're going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around the top of the drawstring bag. So 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around the top. I like to start on the side seam. That just helps it hide that start and stop a little bit. That back stitch, but totally up to you. Start where you want. And again, I just opened up both seams so that they lay nice and flat. So go ahead and sew all the way around with 1/4 inch seam allowance. So once you've sewn all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, like I have here, you're just going to reach inside that side panel that we left open and pull the bag through. Once you have it turned right side out, you're going to reach inside and straighten out your corners. I'm using a bone folder. You can use a turning tool. You can use the end of a pin with a cap on it. Just something to push those corners out so that they look nice and neat, especially on the outer half, which should be pretty good since you've ironed that. All right. So now what's left to do on this part, on the lining, is to close up that gap. So I like to just give it a little bit of a press. Get everything lined up nicely. Perfect. And you're just going to take that over to the sewing machine and just give it a quick top stitch to close up that little opening. Once you've closed up that opening, you can open this up and you're going to stuff the lining, which is the one without the lines that we drew. You're going to stuff that lining back inside. And then it's up to you if you want to slightly make this lining stick out a little bit. It's designed to fit right inside perfectly, but if you want to just pull it up a little bit, you can, just for an added touch on the top. Totally up to you. But you want to roll that top seam out, give it a press. Make sure you don't touch your lines because you want those to stay crisp. But I'm just going over the very edge, just making sure that's nice. Again, don't let your iron touch your friction lines because they will disappear. You can also just clip this into place, just like so. Make sure everything's lined up nice. And really take your time to roll those seams out. It'll make a difference. All right, now take it over to the sewing machine and sew with a less than 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch, as close to the edge as you can. You're just going to do a nice top stitch around the top of the bag. So now we have a nice top stitch around the top of the bag. Probably see it better on this side. So now what you're going to do is, again, take it back over to the sewing machine and you're going to top stitch right on each of those lines all the way around. So this top line, and then you're going to do the bottom line. So you can see I've sewn right on my blue lines. So now I'm just going to use my iron and get rid of those. So we've essentially completed our drawstring bag. All we have to do now is add our strings. Now you can use whatever you want. I have this 1/4 inch rope. You could use a ribbon. You could use some homemade rope, like my fabric rope. I have a video on that if you're interested in that. I just happen to have this on hand, so I'm going to use that. I'm also using a bodkin, and I will link this in the description below. It's super handy if you do this stuff very often, but a bobby pin works, or not a bobby pin, a safety pin works just as well. You don't need this to do that. But all you're going to do is fish it through one side. And we've got a 1-inch channel. So whatever you're doing, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to get 2 rows through it. So you don't want to use a rope that's really, really thick. But we're going to go, so here's the other side. And we're going to go back through and come out the same place where we started, or the same side we started. And since we folded that seam down, we've got nice finished edges without raw pieces sticking out. All right, so we've got our drawstring bag. You can stop here if you want. I prefer to do both sides, but that's totally optional. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to tie these into a knot. Don't have to worry about that. And then I can just cut off the ends of my rope. I like my rope to fray. I actually try to fray it a little bit more. So I'm not worried about that, but if you don't want yours to fray, then you might want to put knots right on the very end of these, but I kind of like it when they start to pull apart. All right, so you're going to take your other one, thread it through your bobby pin, your safety pin, but I don't know why I keep saying bobby pin. Thread it through your safety pin or whatever you're using. And this time we're going to go in the opposite side. So we're going to go in this side, and I'm going to push that first rope up towards the top of my channel, and I'm going underneath of it. And again, we're going to come out the other side right there. So I'm just going to aim it back through. Keep going. Again, keeping the rope, the second one, on the bottom if I can. If it gets twisted, it's not that big of a deal, but I just try to go on the bottom the second time. And back out where we started. So it looks like that. I'm gonna pull it around so it's a little more even. Tie my knot. Cut those so they're not quite so long. And let that fray a little bit. And there we have our drawstring bag. Super cute, super easy, and I love that it has the contrasting top on the lining. Just a way to step it up a notch, and I think it's super cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe and click that bell so that you're notified every time there is a new video. I've gone ahead and linked a couple other videos here that you might like to give a try. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys. Never stop making.